What happens if an avatar dies as a child? In Aang's case, an incredibly likely scenario. Or what about as a baby? What if an avatar slides out of the womb directly into the mouth of a platypus bear? Have I properly conditioned you for just how dark this video is about to be? One of the more ridiculous moments in Avatar: The Last Airbender to me was when Admiral Zhao finally gets Aang in his grubby, freshly promoted little mitts and doesn't kill him. Even when he finds Aang breaking out of his compound, inches from escape, he still tells his men not to kill him because he will just be reincarnated later. For those of you who somehow don't know, when an avatar is killed, a new one is immediately born. And so Admiral Zhao didn't want this happening. And yeah, I guess that's 50% valid. But he's gonna be reincarnated as a baby. There isn't gonna be some 35-year-old man tearing his way out of some water tribe woman's stomach the second Aang's heart stops beating. You know, they aren't Uruk-hai. If Zhao killed Aang, the Fire Nation could have continued their absolute steamrolling of all of the other nations, only occasionally stopping to murder a multi-bending toddler every couple of years. War won. But what if Zhao went through with killing Aang? Or what if a completely different avatar, entirely separate from Aang, met their untimely demise at a young age? Now you might be asking, what do you mean what happens if an avatar dies as a child? They die. They just die. What are you even asking? And you're right, maybe I'm not asking the right question, because I'm less wondering what happens to the avatar who dies, and more, what happens to the avatar after them? Each avatar has the deepest spiritual connection to their immediate predecessor, turning to them for guidance and wisdom whenever they feel lost. Korra had Aang, Aang had Roku, Roku had Kyoshi, etc. But imagine an avatar cycle in which the current avatar couldn't turn to their immediate predecessor for wisdom because their predecessor didn't live long enough to learn any themselves. An avatar cycle in which the previous avatar has to look to the current one for wisdom. It's a story that would develop two avatars simultaneously in a really compelling way. Imagine how interesting it would be to have two avatars, roughly the same age, both having to learn about the responsibilities of being the avatar. Maybe they're able to connect with each other more frequently than avatars usually are able to because of their age similarity. So then it almost becomes like a buddy cop drama featuring two avatars. The living avatar, who we'll call Avatar A, would feel the pressure of having to maintain the balance of the world without having a proper spiritual mentor. And the dead avatar, Avatar B, would feel guilty for leaving the world too early and maybe letting it slip into chaos. We can get even deeper with this. Maybe Avatar A is book smart but antisocial, and Avatar B is street smart and empathetic. The avatar is meant to be an international arbiter, the bridge between the human and the spirit world, and maintain harmony among the four nations. That would take a pretty charismatic person to pull that off, so even though Avatar B may not have the kind of strategic or spiritual knowledge someone would gain after years of being the avatar, they can still teach Avatar A how to navigate people. And vice versa. Maybe Avatar A is some sort of monk and Avatar B doesn't really know anything about the spirit world or its inhabitants. Well, while Avatar B teaches A to be more charismatic, A could teach B how to become more at peace with his demons, how to overcome their guilt through spiritual training, and the value of being more in tune with nature and wildlife. Then, to make things even more complicated, what if the more that Avatar B becomes in tune with the spirit world, the looser their connection becomes with Avatar A? Almost like the more complete their unfinished business becomes, the more distant they grow with the living world. So then a conflict arises where maybe Avatar B doesn't want to fully complete their training because of how close they've grown with Avatar A. There are so many interesting possibilities that can be done with this idea. And since Avatar has always dealt with themes such as self-acceptance and balance, I think it would fit perfectly in this universe. And as far as we know, there is no precedence for something like this happening. Avatar Kuruk was the youngest to die at age 33, and as a result, was forever known as the avatar who goofed so hard he died at age 33. After Kuruk died, Avatar Kyoshi was born, and being the absolute hype train that she was, lived to the ripe old age of 230, formally cementing Kuruk's title as the avatar who goofed himself to death. But what if Kyoshi didn't live for 230 years? What if she only lived 10? You see, canonically, after Kuruk died, the world didn't have an Avatar for 7 years, and it was a fucking disaster. In the Avatar universe, the Earth's population is essentially comprised of children, and the Avatar is their hardworking single mother constantly telling them not to touch the stove. Leave them alone for one goddamn second, they'll just start burning each other. Pirate factions arose all across the globe as the world began to wonder whether or not their arbiter will ever return. By age 7, Kyoshi was a little orphan street rat with no self-esteem and immense 13 shoe size. Sorry, did I say a little orphan street rat?
I meant she was huge!
And nobody knew she was the Avatar. Okay, she could hardly throw a rock, let alone bend one. But the world needed an Avatar, and eventually, an Avatar was found. Just not the Avatar. You see, an earthbending prodigy named Yoon was discovered, and he was such a master at earthbending, everyone was certain he was the Avatar. Obviously, it was eventually discovered that Kyoshi's the true Avatar, and everyone was super cool about that discovery. Just kidding, it was a fucking mess. Yoon's mentors, who were members of Kuruk's team Avatar, didn't exactly age into being the most moral of people. They all had their fair share of war crimes under their belt, and weren't exactly happy to find out that the boy they've been parading around the world, signing peace treaties and building bridges among nations, didn't have any actual authority. All of that goes down in the Rise of Kyoshi book. I know this is the sequel. I don't have Rise on me right now. Which is genuinely amazing and honestly, one of the best books I've ever read. It's so good. It's so brutal. It's borderline rated R. I'm super gonna do a video about that sometime in the future. But you know, if you want that to come faster, make sure you comment below and Give me a little old like. But yeah, I'm very excited to get more in-depth into those books in the future. But this wasn't just a huge tangent to plug a future video, don't worry. But okay, the scene is set. Pirates are ravaging coasts, there's a false Avatar in power, and Kyoshi, at the time, is a child street rat. Now imagine for a second that Kyoshi was never discovered to be the true Avatar. She dies at age 10 or 15 or whatever, just sometime before she's even able to fully master earthbending. Up next would be Avatar Roku, who by the time he's 15 would presumably be living in a world that still believes Avatar Yoon is the true Avatar. Like I said, Yoon's mentors were all known to be at least a little bit corrupt, so it's reasonable to assume that had they found out that Yoon wasn't the true Avatar without Kyoshi's involvement, they probably would have just kept him installed as the Avatar. One of the main conflicts of the Kyoshi book is the fact that if people find out that Yoon isn't the real Avatar, all the peace treaties he signed, all the bridges he's built, would mean nothing. Mass wars would break out, and so it's reasonable to assume that his mentors would just keep up the facade, helping him pretend to bend elements when in public to keep up public perception. Maybe his mentors actually spend their time tracking down and killing new avatars to keep that under wraps. Maybe, in this scenario, they're the ones who killed Kyoshi after they found out. So now the story becomes about Roku trying to master the 4 elements in secret, while the previous Team Avatar hunts him down. All the while set to the backdrop of a world seemingly enjoying a time of peace under false pretenses. So now a new conflict arises. Should Roku and Kyoshi even expose Yoon? If the world is enjoying peace with him installed as the Avatar, who cares if he's a fraud? Or maybe things aren't as peaceful as they seem. Yoon may have his mentors helping him bend elements in public, but that doesn't give him authority over the spirit world. Maybe under this great facade, something's brewing within the spirit world. Roku and Kyoshi could even rally the spirits to their side, starting a war between the humans and the spirits for title of Avatar. And, get this, if we use the conflict we established earlier, where one Avatar is maybe a little more in tune with their spiritual side, and the other Avatar is more like a people person, then this war between the humans and the spirits becomes a lot more interesting. Maybe Kyoshi really wants Yoon exposed, right? She's got a vendetta for him and his team, considering they're probably the ones that killed her. Kyoshi has personal stakes against them, and so she would do anything to see them brought down. Meanwhile, maybe Roku is more in tune with the spirits than Kyoshi is, or just maybe more empathetic towards them. He realizes that Yoon has to be stopped, but he also knows that part of the Avatar's job is to maintain peace between the humans and the spirits. So inciting a war between them is sort of you know, anti-Avatar by definition. But look at that, just out of the small concept of having an Avatar die as a child, look at all of these incredible possibilities we've just created. And I think that's a great testament to how interesting this world and its lore is. Avatars have always had their past lives to lean on whenever they need guidance, which makes a lot of sense narratively, considering who else can relate to the Avatar's plight other than another Avatar. So the idea that Avatar Roku or Avatar A or whoever would be one of the first Avatars to have to navigate their responsibilities without the guidance of their immediate predecessor is so interesting. They sort of did this with Korra when she severed her connection with all of her previous lives, but like, boy did I not like that. That idea was so infuriating that I couldn't even enjoy its implications. I do like Korra, like I enjoy that series, but I did always hate the idea that she just like deleted her connection with her past lives, because that's like one of the coolest things about Avatar. What I like about this idea is that Roku wouldn't not have his connection to his previous lives. He just wouldn't know how to channel them yet because he's so inexperienced. And he wouldn't be entirely alone. He'd have Kyoshi, someone who can relate to his struggles probably more than any other Avatar would be able to, considering they're kind of gonna be going through them together. This concept gives us a story between an Avatar and one of their past lives that is more personal than any we have ever seen before. Aang and Korra both looked up to their past lives as mentors, but we've never seen an Avatar who considers their predecessor to be an actual friend. With Aang, we got to experience the incredible burden an Avatar carries during war. With Korra, we saw how an Avatar has to navigate their political responsibilities. I would love to see an Avatar story that dives deeper into an Avatar's connection with their past lives. And I think this concept would be a great way to do it. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's very different from what I usually do, but I had a ton of fun doing it. Let me know if you want to see more like what if theory style videos within the Avatar universe. It's probably the only universe I am even a little bit knowledgeable enough to attempt. You know, this isn't like my pitch to be on the writing staff of Team Avatar. But you know, if that happened, who'd be opposed to that? Yeah, I've got screenwriting experience. I'm a filmmaker, but who cares? Who cares? Who's even suggesting that? No, this was just like, this was a cool idea that me and my roommates came up with. That I just got more and more excited about the more I thought about it. And it gave me an excuse to talk about the Kyoshi books, which I will always take. Speaking of the Kyoshi books, look forward to a video on those. Probably one per book, and then if those do well, if you guys like them, I'll move on to Yang Chen. There's my girl. But yeah, as always, give a comment if you enjoyed it, give a like if you enjoyed this, and yeah, I'll comment, like, if you liked this, give me some other cool little concepts that I could chew on. And yeah, just see what blossoms from there. That's kind of what this was. This just was, what if an Avatar died as a kid? Boom. But yeah, anyway, I will see you guys next time. Lay down, let the tide